All right. Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you to Laura and Colin for helping me organize this presentation. So I'd like to start off with about myself. So I'm the youngest of three boys, born to two Maltese parents from Toronto, Canada. Born and raised. After I graduated from university, I started my own photography business and was a professional photographer for 20 plus years. In 2014, my wife, my daughter, our two dogs made a move from Canada to Malta. And why? Because, well, we live one half of our life in one part of the world. Why not somewhere else? We restarted our business and we transformed our business from being a commercial studio to being maternity, newborn, and family business, which pushed my wife to the front and pushed me to the back, which I was quite happy with. We reestablished ourselves, made a very well-known and respectable name and brand for ourselves. So there's something else I haven't told you about myself, which is I'm also neurodiverse. What does that mean? Well, that means that I'm visual perception, visual motor, working memory, and 50% dyslexic. I say that because often visual perception gets quite misdiagnosed as being dyslexic. So why am I talking to you about neurodiversity? Well, I'm talking about neurodiversity because you are employing people who are neurodiverse, or you're doing business with people who are neurodiverse. Neurodiversity, by definition, means changing how society views neurodiverse people. And it's defined and it incorporates learning difficulties such as ADHD, dyslexia, autism, dyscalculia, and so forth. So there are two schools of thought when it comes to neurodiversity. The first one, it's a disability, or it's how we think differently. Scientists has come to the conclusion that we have neurotypical people who are generalists, and then we have neurodiverse people who are specialists. So when we take a look at neurodiversity, such as dyscalculia or autism, we can see there are a lot of strengths that businesses want to incorporate and business owners have, such as visual thinking, 3D mechanical skills, verbal skills, and so forth. So when we take a look at that, here are some stats. Approximately 20% of the world's population, or 1,460,000,000 people, are neurodiverse. And I would say that number is much larger because there's a huge percentage that have been undiagnosed. But let's make that number a little bit smaller. That means approximately 4 out of 20 students, or 4 out of 20 employees, or 4 out of 20 customers, or 4 out of 20 business owners are neurodiverse. Once again, that number could be much higher. So when we take a look at some of the major industries and founders of those industries, we find out that they themselves are neurodiverse. So these are good qualities of why you want to do business with people who are neurodiverse. Now, let's take a look at some of the challenges. They might have challenges with time management. They may have challenges with transitioning from one task to the next. They may have difficulty understanding instructions and or executive function, which is the brain's management system. Or they may have problems with working memory, which means we need to chunk that information. Now, they may face challenges in the workplace. This is due to having stigma and low self-esteem, so they may be having deficiency or perceived as low IQ or in performance. They may have managers in employers do not understand what learning difficulties are. Thus, they do not know what reasonable accommodations are. Managers, directors, and owners and co-workers can be abusive. Lastly, neurodiverse may have difficulty with advancement. Thus, many neurodiverse individuals find themselves unemployed. Hence, if we take a look at ADHD, 30% find themselves clashing in the workplace, 60% find themselves unemployed. So how do I help companies? Well, I'm going to ask you to start taking some screenshots here. So if you take a look at here, I examine the environment. Do you know who you're working with? We talk about neurodiversity awareness, leadership development, turning managers and coaches, and team development. Basically, what we're doing is we're creating a more productive environment. I also introduced the neurodiversity inclusion principles, such as being flexible, identifying strengths, supporting challenges, being reflective, and being patient. And most of all, this is all about being people-centric. I offer a free policy here, and a policy needs muscle, which is a procedure manual. So I offer a procedural manual package, which I will help incorporate for you. Here's a screenshot, if you please mind, of who I'm looking to be introduced to. Lastly, here's a screenshot of some triggers to listen for when you're introducing to me to, such as difficulty to be managed, time management issues, seeing as being forgetful. And here's a screenshot of how to introduce me. So that brings me to an end of my 5-minute presentation, and I thank you very much.